Hi, I'm Landon. This is the second installment in this video series. Today we're talking about Earth. Hopefully you know a little something about it. So what I'm doing now is erasing a previous drawing. I started out with Mercury. That's the drawing I made here. This is Artrage, the Artrage software program. And I figured I'd start out with, well, for one, starting out with a circle already there helps out a little bit. But two, I wanted to have a little bit of the texture left over from erasing it, leaving a few things here and there. I'm not really sure how much of that ended up in the final illustration, but it sure seemed like a good idea when I was doing it. As you can see, I transferred the drawing from Artrage over to Photoshop, and I just got Photoshop CC, Creative Cloud. It's only $10 a month for the photography plan. You get Photoshop and Lightroom. It's pretty easy. I can afford 10 bucks a month. It'd be nice to have the other programs too in the Creative Suite, but that's $50 a month, and that's a little too much for me right now anyways. So I'm really starting to get the hang of drawing in Photoshop. I've got some new tools, new brushes and stuff, and I'm starting to get a pretty good workflow with Photoshop now. It was still relatively not intuitive for me for quite a while. You can see I'm just drawing over what was there already and just kind of tightening things up a little bit. I wanted to make it pretty loose though, because I kind of like the style, but maybe mostly because I didn't really want to draw every single island and feature of Earth. And I really just wanted to get the major parts just so that you could look at it at a glance and say, yeah, that's Earth, but not really start going over it with, you know, a fine-tooth comb and seeing all sorts of things that are wrong. It just would have been too time-consuming to make every single feature absolutely correct. So that's why it's so loose, and I kind of like the way South America is. It just kind of happened like that. It does not look like that really, but looks cool here anyways. See, I'm using reference now. Of course, I can't just magically remember all the features of Earth, even though I've lived here all my life. I still need some sort of reference, and you can see it doesn't look anything like the picture, but it was just there to help make sure that I was doing things relatively accurately. I'm just erasing the background now because I plan to print it on watercolor paper, and so I just erased the background to print it on the watercolor paper, and I'll use run that through my printer and just start painting on top of it. You'll see here in a minute, I can't remember if this was before or after, but I had the grand idea to do this all in Photoshop, and you'll see that it was just a really crappy attempt. Not everything artists do, maybe some artists, but not everything I do is good or even halfway good. I think I've gotten a lot better since this was done in the fall, summer, late summer, early fall. I think I've gotten a lot better with Photoshop using it. I did my first full illustration completely on Photoshop. Just finished it up the other day. So I'll be excited to show you guys that soon. But you can see I really didn't have the proper brushes and technique for this. I really did not know what I was doing. But I guess that's pretty much with anything I do. I just try and try again. So there was one redeeming quality about this failed attempt at finishing it in Photoshop. I did get a pretty good layer of clouds going, and I guess it was a little bit like a little color comp just to see what the colors would be like together, although I don't know, I'm not sure how well that worked, but I did do this pretty cool cloud layer, and I must have got lucky with some brush. That's a problem with the Photoshop, is there's so many options, and if you really don't know what you're doing, it's kind of too much to choose from. But yeah, I like the way this cloud layer turned out, so after scrapping the digital part of the other part of the illustration, I realized that I could save this cloud layer and just use that after I've done it in watercolor and put that on top of my watercolor illustration when I'm done with that for the final image. And now the fun begins. Yeah, I kind of say that because everything that I did before this was not fun. All the preliminary work, the drawing, getting reference, everything else is just, it's work. It's work, but when you get to the painting part, that's like, it makes everything worth it, all that hard work. Makes it a lot easier. So watercolor is definitely fun. It's a lot more fun looking at this too. It works well for a time lapse. But yeah, I used Winsor & Newton artist grade watercolor paint, and I had, I think, a Raphael brush. The blue, you can see, it was pretty difficult to find the right blue. You can see now I'm adding what looks like a lighter color. It's actually gouache. I mixed an opaque paint, white gouache, with some of the blue, and it helped to lighten things up and get more of that, I guess, sea foam kind of color around the coastline. I'm sure that I added a little bit of green as well. But it was a difficult thing because, you know, the colors out of the tube were not good. Were not, you know, good enough. They never are, but it was a difficult thing getting that color right. You can see how it turned out. That's the final watercolor image. I scanned that into the computer. I think I bumped up some of the levels a little bit to contrast, and voila. Here's the final image. I added that layer of clouds on top, and it seemed to work really well, actually. I'm not sure how, you know, whether or not you can tell, you know, stylistically it definitely is similar. So I was happy with the final image. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.